Welcome to this deep dive. Today we are going to be diving into Cyberpunk 2077,
Yeah,
a world that is just dazzling and dangerous.
absolutely.
And you've given us this fantastic source material, The World of Cyberpunk 2077, to help us take a closer look.
It's a really rich text.
It is.
A lot of really interesting details about this world that I think are going to be fun to unpack today.
So strap in, folks, because we are about to get real deep into this one.
What's really fascinating to me is that it goes so far beyond
Yeah.
just the typical cyberpunk tropes, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we've got the cool tech, we've got the gritty visuals, but it's really about the human cost of all of that progress.
Yeah, the book really doesn't sugarcoat anything.
Not at all.
We're just dropped right into Night City.
Straight into the deep end.
This mega metropolis that's been built on the ruins of a world that just destroyed itself.
Yeah.
And in place of governments,
Right.
we have these mega corporations like Arasaka and Militech.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, what happened to the idea of yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's almost like a
Ah.
like a weird, evolution of where we are right now. Like if you take the fourth corporate war,
Yeah.
like a global conflict that reshaped the entire power structure of the world.
Oh, yeah.
And Night City becomes this quote unquote free city, but it's very clear that the corporations are
Yeah.
the ones really calling the shots.
It's freedom, but at a very high price.
Exactly. Freedom isn't free in Night City.
No, it is not.
Not at all.
Okay, so imagine this. You're walking through city center, the heart of Night City.
Okay.
Gleaming skyscrapers pierce the sky. Private airfields are buzzing with activity, and the elite are sipping champagne,
Right.
completely oblivious to the struggles happening just below.
Yeah, just a few blocks away.
Right.
You find yourself in the NID, the Northside Industrial District,
Oh, yeah.
and it's just this wasteland of crumbling factories and just like shattered dreams.
Yeah.
It's left to rot after a series of devastating earthquakes.
Oh, wow.
And it's this visual reminder
Oh, yeah.
that progress always leaves somebody behind.
Always somebody behind.
Always.
And it's not just a visual thing, right? The source material talks about, scavengers in Kabuki,
Oh, yeah.
harvesting implants from the dead.
It's a grim reality.
Imagine living in a world where, even in death,
Right.
your body is just seen as another commodity.
It's like the book is saying,
Yeah. Yeah.
look, this is the underbelly of your shiny utopia,
Yeah.
It forces you to think about like the ethics of this kind of advancement,
Yeah.
where are the boundaries of human dignity
Right.
when survival is this precarious,
Yeah.
you know?
And that brings us to the tech itself.
Right.
Cyberware.
Cyberware.
This isn't just about replacing limbs or enhancing abilities.
Whatever.
It's about fundamentally altering
Yeah,
what it means to even be human.
absolutely.
The source material talks about real skin,
Real skin, yeah.
this synthetic skin that just makes cyberware practically invisible.
Which begs the question in this world where, augmentations are so common, what does it even mean to be natural anymore?
Right.
Are you considered naked without your implants?
Yeah.
It really blurs the lines
Yeah.
between man and machine.
It's what even is natural anymore?
Right.
And then there's the weaponization of this tech.
Oh, yeah.
It started with medical implants, but then during the corporate wars,
Things escalated.
things escalated quickly.
Quickly.
Suddenly you have people walking around with blades built into their arms,
You.
enhanced reflexes,
Uh-huh.
the ability to interface directly with weapon systems.
Yeah, it's scary and kind of cool.
It is kind of cool, but
Yeah.
it's terrifying.
It makes you think how much power is
Yeah.
too much power for one person to have.
Right.
And what happens when those lines get
Yeah.
blurred, between human and weapon?
Well, speaking of weapons, the source material goes into the entire arsenal
Oh, yeah.
that's available in Night City.
Yeah.
And you've got your classic power weapons,
Right? Your good old-fashioned...
your guns, but then you've got your tech weapons firing these electromagnetic projectiles that can just punch through anything.
It's like a whole new arms race.
It is.
And Night City is just flooded with both.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes you wonder,
Yeah.
in a
Mhm.
society this volatile,
Right.
is anybody really safe?
Yeah.
Even with all this advanced security, it just feels like violence is always simmering under the surface.
It's always there.
always there.
And don't even get me started on smart weapons.
Oh, boy.
The source material talks about the Kang Kao heavy machine turret,
Yeah.
this AI-controlled behemoth that can just track and eliminate targets with
Chilling.
chilling efficiency.
Yeah, how much
Yeah.
how much of that is personal responsibility versus just the programming taking over.
Where does one end and the other begin?
Right.
It's a very,
It's a question that pops up again and again.
it does.
Are we in control of the tech, or is the tech starting to control us?
Right.
And it goes beyond weapons.
Oh, yeah.
It's everything. Like vehicles, for example.
Oh, yeah.
After the Fourth Corporate War, there was this big push toward electric and CHOH2 fuel sources.
Right.
But it's not like car theft just disappeared.
No, it did not.
The source material mentions SID technology,
Oh, yeah.
These subdermal chips that act as your car key and tracker.
Yeah.
And imagine losing your car because someone hacked your implant.
Oh, gosh.
Talk about a violation.
Right.
It makes you think, how much are we willing to sacrifice for convenience and connectivity, you know?
Yeah.
Is privacy even possible in this world?
Or is it just an illusion?
Or is it just an illusion?
Well, if you're looking to escape, that reality Night City has got you covered.
Of course.
Enter Braindance.
Braindance.
This immersive technology that allows you to experience someone else's recorded memories and emotions.
Oh.
The source material describes everything from safe and legal entertainment BDs
Right.
to the dark and dangerous world of black braindance.
It's like the whole spectrum.
The whole spectrum.
Yeah.
The implications are just mind-blowing.
They are mind-blowing.
Imagine stepping into someone else's shoes,
Yeah.
feeling their joy, their fear, their pain as if it were your own.
Yeah. What does it do to your sense of self?
What does that do to your sense of self?
What are the boundaries of personal experience when tech can just erase them?
And the source material really doesn't shy away from the social commentary.
No, it doesn't.
Braindance becomes this symbol of inequality in Night City.
Oh, absolutely.
For the wealthy, it's a luxurious form of escape.
Right.
For others, it's a dangerous addiction,
Yeah.
a way to numb the pain of their reality.
It's a reflection of our own
Yeah,
obsession with technology and instant gratification.
it really is.
Yeah.
It's like this twisted mirror
Absolutely.
reflecting our own obsessions back at us.
It makes you wonder, are we using technology to enhance our lives, or are we letting it consume us?
Are we letting it consume us?
Yeah.
And speaking of control, let's talk about the forces that are supposed to be maintaining order in this city.
Right.
You've got the NCPD, the Night City Police Department.
Right.
They're struggling
They are.
to keep up with this constant tide
Yeah.
of cyber psychos,
Yeah.
gang violence,
Corporate conspiracies.
corporate conspiracies.
That was a lot.
Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah.
The source material kind of paints them as this underfunded and overwhelmed force.
It's like trying to put out a fire with a water pistol.
It really is.
Yeah.
And even with NetWatch, this international cybersecurity organization,
Right.
lurking in the shadows, it just feels like Night City is always on the verge of chaos.
It's a city where the rules are constantly
Yeah.
being bent, broken, and rewritten.
Yeah.
And then you've got the gangs of Night City,
Oh, yeah.
each with their own territory, their own code, their own brand of chaos.
Yeah, take Maelstrom.
Maelstrom.
Obsessed with cybernetic modification.
To the point of losing their humanity.
It's like a cautionary tale. What happens when you push the limits of augmentation too far?
Right.
And then there's the Valentinos.
Isn't it Valentino?
Fiercely proud of their heritage and traditions.
Yeah.
But also deeply entrenched in organized crime.
They control Haywood,
Yeah.
running protection rackets and all sorts of illegal activities.
Yeah, it's like they're clinging to their identity
They are.
in a world that's trying to erase it.
It highlights this tension between tradition and progress.
Yeah.
How do you hold on to your values when everything around you is changing so rapidly?
And speaking of the dark side of this world, we can't forget about the scavengers.
No.
The bottom feeders preying on the weak and vulnerable.
The source material talks about them harvesting implants
Yeah.
from corpses in Kabuki.
It's chilling.
It's a chilling reminder that even in death, there's
Yeah.
no escape from exploitation.
It's brutal, but it's the reality.
It is.
Lighted City,
It's a world of extremes. And the
Yeah.
gap between those extremes is just vast. It's vast.
And then you have the nomads.
Right.
These clans who live outside the city walls.
They're almost like a throwback to a
Yeah.
simpler time.
Yeah, roaming the Badlands.
Yeah.
And the highway.
Valuing freedom and independence above all else.
The Aldecaldos are a great example.
Yeah.
They're bound by family ties.
Right.
A strict code of honor.
Mm-hmm.
They survive as transporters, smugglers, and guides.
They represent this yearning
Yeah.
for a life outside the corporate control that just dominates Night City.
Yeah. It's like they've found a way to carve out their own space in this world,
They have.
even if it's dangerous and uncertain.
Right.
It makes you wonder, can you ever truly escape the influence of Night City?
That's the question a lot of characters
Yeah.
in the cyberpunk world grapple with.
Yeah.
And it's a question we might have to ask ourselves,
Yeah.
As tech continues to advance at such a rapid pace,
Right.
are we headed toward a similar fate?
That is a heavy thought. It seems like no matter where you go in this world, there's just no escaping the shadow of Night City.
It looms large.
The collapse, the corporations, the violence, it just permeates every aspect of life.
Yeah, and that's what makes the genre so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just a futuristic fantasy. It's a reflection
Right.
of our own anxieties and fears about where we're headed as a society.
It forces us to ask these uncomfortable questions
It does.
about the choices we're making and the future we're creating.
Absolutely.
So we've got this city on a knife's edge.
Yeah.
Massive inequality, rampant violence, and this pervasive sense of paranoia.
It's a powder keg.
But amidst all that darkness,
Right.
the source material hints at something else.
What's that?
A flicker of resistance.
Okay.
These cyberpunks,
Yeah.
these rebels,
Rebel.
these tech-savvy outlaws,
Yeah.
they're pushing back against the system.
They represent the indomitable human spirit, this
Yeah.
refusal to be controlled.
To be dehumanized.
To be dehumanized. Yeah.
They're like modern-day Robin Hoods.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're using their skills to fight for those who can't fight for themselves,
Absolutely.
even if it means breaking the law.
They're digital warriors,
Yeah.
battling for justice in the neon-lit streets. And in the virtual reality of the night.
Speaking of which, the source material mentions NetWatch,
Netwalk.
this international cybersecurity organization
Right.
that is trying to police the digital frontier.
They're walking a very fine line.
They are.
They're supposed to be preventing cybercrime
Right.
and keeping things in check. But they're also accused of censorship and shady dealings with the very corporations that they're supposed to be regulating.
Yeah, it makes you wonder who watches the watchers,
Exactly.
right? Like, who gets to control the flow of information
Right.
in a world where data is power?
And how do you even define crime
Yeah,
in a digital space
right.
where the lines between reality and simulation
Yeah,
are so blurred?
that is the question.
It's a question that's central to the cyberpunk genre.
It is.
What happens to our humanity when technology becomes so deeply intertwined with our lives?
Do we lose ourselves in the digital world? Or do we find new ways to express our individuality?
That's the big question.
What is the big question?
Yeah.
And the source material really pushes you to consider these questions.
It does?
What choices would you make in a world like this? Would you
None.
fight the system?
Would you embrace the chaos?
Would you just try to carve out your own little corner of peace?
It's a central dilemma,
It is.
and it's reflected in the diverse cast of characters and factions in Night City.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the corporate elite clinging to their control,
The gangs fighting for survival.
the cyberpunks struggling for freedom.
It's a powder keg ready to explode.
It feels like it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, the source material hints at this underlying tension.
Yeah.
The sense that something big is about to happen in Night City.
Like a storm brewing.
Like a storm brewing.
On the horizon.
Yeah, you can feel the electricity in the air.
Yeah.
The anticipation just building in those neon-lit streets.
Absolutely.
Makes you wonder who will emerge from the ashes of this coming conflict
Yeah.
and what will become of Night City, this shining beacon of technological advancement,
Right.
but also this, like, symbol of everything that's wrong with the world.
Those are the questions that haunt the cyberpunk genre.
They do.
And it's up to each individual
Yeah.
to decide where they stand in the face of this impending storm.
Yeah. Where do you stand?
Where do you stand?
I think that's a good place to stop for now.
Okay.
We'll be right back with more from this deep dive into Cyberpunk 2077. Sounds good. So it's like Cyberpunk throws this question at you. Conform, rebel, or like find some middle ground
Right.
where you can just like exist.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about staying alive.
Right.
It's about figuring out what it means to even be human
Yeah.
when the lines are getting blurrier every single day.
And that's the heart of it, right? Like you said, it's holding up a mirror to us,
Uh-huh.
to our anxieties about technology and corporate power and,
Right.
losing ourselves in the digital age.
Losing ourselves.
But it's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
There's this sense of resilience,
Yeah.
this rebellion that keeps you hooked.
Keeps you hooked. I mean, after going through the source material,
Yeah.
it feels like Night City is more than just a setting.
It is.
It's practically a character itself.
Absolutely.
Like this sprawling, chaotic, and yet somehow hopeful entity. You can almost feel its pulse.
It's energy.
It's energy,
Yeah.
even through the pages.
It's a world where every choice
Yeah.
you make has these ripple effects.
Yeah.
You know, it forces you to look at your own values,
Yeah.
your own beliefs, and ask yourself, like, what would I do
What would I do?
in this situation?
Okay, so we've established that Night City is a powder keg,
Yes.
right? It's just rife with inequality.
Uh-huh.
Violence is practically a way of life. And everybody seems to be looking over their shoulder.
Constantly.
But the source material doesn't just leave us with this bleak picture. There's this glimmer of hope,
Okay.
the spark of resistance.
Okay, I like where this is going.
In the form of these cyberpunks.
The cyberpunks, yeah.
They're the ones who just refuse to play by the rules.
They don't play by the rules.
They're hackers.
Yeah, right?
They're rebels.
Right.
They're these tech-savvy outlaws.
Yeah.
And they're fighting back against the corporations.
Against the system.
Against the system.
Yeah.
That's trying to control every aspect of their lives.
They're saying, you know, we may be plugged in,
Yeah.
but we're not going to be puppets.
We are not going to be puppets.
No.
Yeah. They're like digital freedom fighters.
I like that.
Using their skills to expose corruption.
To protect the vulnerable.
To protect the vulnerable.
Yeah.
And to just remind everyone that even in this like dystopian future,
Right.
the human spirit can't be completely crushed.
It's inspiring.
It is inspiring in a way.
It taps into that classic cyberpunk theme, you know?
Uh-huh.
Fighting for freedom against overwhelming odds.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about, you know, the ways we resist control in our own lives.
Right.
Are we just cogs in the machine?
Yeah.
Or can we carve out our own path?
We carve out our own path.
Speaking
Speaking of control, let's talk about the forces that are supposed to be maintaining order in Night City.
Okay.
You know, you've got the NCPD,
Yeah, the PD.
the Night City Police Department.
Right.
They're out there on the front lines just
Yeah.
trying to keep a lid on the chaos.
Bless their hearts.
But the source material suggests that they are fighting a losing battle.
They are outgunned, outmanned,
Yeah.
outmatched by the scale of the problems they're facing.
Right. It's almost like they're a symbol of like
The old world.
the old world.
Yeah.
Struggling to hold on in this like rapidly changing landscape.
It's like trying to hold back a tsunami
Yeah.
with a bucket.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have NetWatch,
Netwatch.
this shadowy international cybersecurity organization.
Right.
That's trying to police the digital world.
Yeah, but are they really a force for good?
Right, are they?
Or are they just another tool of control?
That is the million-dollar question.
It is.
They claim to be protecting the net from cybercrime,
Right.
maintaining order,
Uh-huh.
but the source material hints at like a darker side.
Yeah.
Are they censoring information?
Are they colluding with corporations?
It's hard to say for sure.
It's hard to say.
And that's what makes them so unsettling.
Right, like who do you trust?
Yeah.
In a world where everybody has an agenda.
Right, and how can you even tell what's real anymore?
Right.
When the lines between like the physical and the digital
Yeah.
are so blurred.
That's the cyberpunk dilemma.
That is the cyberpunk dilemma.
Technology promises so much convenience, progress,
Uh-huh.
but it also comes at a
Right,
cost.
at a cost.
Loss of privacy,
Yeah.
potential for control and manipulation.
Manipulation.
Yeah.
So it's not just about surviving in Night City. It's about navigating this complex web of technology and power and morality.
It's about making choices that align with your values,
Yeah.
even when those choices are difficult.
Yeah. And the source material really drives that home.
It throws you in the deep end and says, all right, here are the rules, or lack thereof.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Speaking of confronting implications, let's talk about one of the most fascinating
Okay.
and disturbing aspects of this world.
Right.
Brain dance.
Brain dance.
The source material describes it as this immersive technology
Yeah.
that allows you to experience someone else's recorded memories
Wow.
and emotions,
That's intense.
like virtual reality on
Yeah.
steroids.
It raises all kinds of ethical questions.
That does.
Imagine being able to step into someone else's shoes,
Yeah.
to feel their joy, their pain, their fear,
As if it were your own.
as if it were your own.
What does that do to our sense of self?
Right. What are the boundaries of personal experience
Yeah.
when technology can just erase them?
It's mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing.
And it's not just theoretical.
Right.
The source material talks about how brain dance is used for everything.
Yeah.
From entertainment to therapy
Right.
to, let's just say, less savory purposes.
The darker side of brain dance.
The darker side, yeah.
It's a powerful tool And like any powerful tool,
Right.
it can be used for good or evil.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so fascinating.
From a storytelling perspective,
Yeah.
it's a metaphor for the ways we consume information in our own lives,
Yeah.
Are we seeking understanding and empathy?
Yeah.
Or are we just looking for a quick hit,
A fleeting escape.
a fleeting escape from reality?
Reality.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, be careful what you wish for.
Right.
And cyberpunk technology allows you to experience almost anything.
Almost anything.
But at what cost?
At what cost, exactly.
And that brings us back to this idea of control.
Controlling.
Who controls this technology?
Who benefits?
And pays the price? Who pays the price?
Yeah.
It's like every layer we peel back
Uh-huh.
in this deep dive just reveals another layer of complexity.
A more moral dilemma.
More moral dilemmas.
Yeah.
It's both exhilarating and exhausting.
It is, but it's never boring.
No.
And that's the power of good science fiction.
Yeah.
Taking these futuristic concepts and
Yeah.
using them to explore what it means to be human.
To ask these big questions about, like,
Who are we?
yeah, who are we?
And where are we going?
And what choices are we making along the way?
What choices are we making?
So we've got this world teetering on the brink of collapse.
Yeah.
You've got corporate greed, environmental devastation,
Social inequality.
social inequality.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It's a recipe for disaster, and yet,
Yeah.
amidst all this darkness,
Yeah.
there are these glimmers of hope,
There are.
these acts of resistance
Right.
that remind us that even in the face of overwhelming odds,
Yeah.
the human spirit
Can endure.
can endure.
And that's what keeps us coming back to these stories.
Yeah.
We want to believe that even in the darkest of times,
Mhm.
there's still a chance for change.
A possibility for something better.
The possibility. Yeah.
And cyberpunk, while often bleak,
Yeah.
never completely loses sight of that
And
possibility.
never loses sight of hope.
Yeah, it's like there's this underlying message that says,
Oh,
hey, things might be messed up,
yeah.
but it's not over yet.
It's not over.
We still have a choice.
We can still fight for what we believe in.
And that's a powerful message,
It is.
especially in a world where it feels like we're losing control,
Right.
where the future is uncertain and maybe a little bit frightening.
So, with everything we've uncovered in this deep dive,
Yeah.
the collapse of society, the rise of corporations,
Right.
the blurred lines between humanity and technology,
What does it all mean?
what does it all mean for the average person just trying to navigate this world?
That's the question every cyberpunk story asks.
How do you carve out a life
Yeah.
in a world that seems determined to chew you up and spit you out?
It's a constant test
It is.
of your resilience,
Your adaptability,
your ingenuity.
your ingenuity.
So you have to be sharp.
Yeah.
You have to be resourceful.
Is resourceful.
And maybe even a little ruthless
Maybe a little ruthless.
to survive.
But it's not just about survival.
Right.
It's about finding meaning and purpose
Yeah.
in a world that can feel very meaningless.
Right. It's about connecting with others, building communities.
Fighting for something bigger than yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's where the real hope lies.
I think so too.
Not in some grand revolution
Yeah.
or technological fix.
It's in the small acts
Yeah.
of kindness, the moments of connection,
The refusal to give up on each other.
the refusal to give up.
Yeah.
It's about finding those sparks of humanity in the darkness and holding on to them
Yeah.
for dear life.
Because in cyberpunk,
That's what matters.
that's what matters.
That's what makes it worth fighting for.
Feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
And yet we've uncovered so much.
So much.
You know, the collapse, the rise of corporations,
The tech.
the tech, the fight for freedom.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
But that's what makes it rewarding.
It is rewarding.
We're not just talking about a video game here.
No.
We're talking about a reflection of our world.
Absolutely.
So if we had to sum it all up, what would you say is the core message of the World of Cyberpunk 2077? What's the takeaway for like someone living in our world today?
I think it's a cautionary tale,
Yeah.
but also a call to action.
Yeah.
It's saying, look, this is what could happen
Yeah.
if we let corporate greed and, unchecked tech just run wild.
Right.
But it's not inevitable.
Right.
We still have a choice.
Yeah, that really resonates with me.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder that we need to be mindful
Yeah.
of the choices we're making,
The choices we're making, too.
individually and as a society.
Yeah, because those choices,
They shape the world of tomorrow.
they do.
Exactly. Are we going to prioritize human connection,
Compassion.
compassion,
Mhm.
or are we going to let ourselves become isolated.
Dehumanized.
Yeah, dehumanized by technology.
Right. Are we going to stand up for what we believe in?
Yeah.
Even when it's hard?
Or are we going to let, like, apathy and fear just rule our lives?
Those are the questions we need to be asking.
They are heavy questions.
They are.
But we need to be asking them.
We do.
Because Cyberpunk 2077,
as fantastical as it seems.
isn't that far removed from our own reality?
Not at all.
And that's what makes it so powerful.
It's not just escapism.
Right.
It's a mirror reflecting our own hopes and fears.
Yeah.
Our potential for greatness.
And destruction.
And destruction.
So what's your final takeaway for our listener? What's that one thing you hope they walk away from this deep dive thinking about?
I hope they remember that even in a world dominated by technology and corporate power, the individual still matters.
Yeah.
Your choices matter. Your actions matter. You have the power to shape the future.
That's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
It's not about feeling overwhelmed,
But
but it's about recognizing that we all have a role to play
we too.
in creating a better future.
Don't just be a consumer of technology.
Yeah.
Be a creator. Be a critical thinker.
Be a force for positive change.
Be a force for good.
Well said. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a wild ride.
It has.
And to our listener, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
Keep questioning.
And keep fighting for the future you want to see.
We'll see you in the next deep dive.